All right, everybody, welcome. Week 13, Sunny Days Media Football Show. A little different here. We don't have Zach. We don't have Jerry. We brought in Paul here from the Sunny Days in Detroit show. So some of our listeners and viewers do recognize him. He was here on the draft show. Boys, we got a loaded Week 13. Let's open up with what we saw on Thanksgiving. We'll start with the 12:30 game, the Lions. Yeah, I guess we'll start with that. Lions win that game 23-20. Paulie, you were at that game. What was that like? Huh?
As a game, I mean, it's, as a Lions fan, I might be biased here, but it's for me, the Lions didn't play their best football. I think they had an opportunity to put the Bears away a lot earlier. If Gibbs doesn't fumble there, it's probably 23-0. There's another time they don't convert in the red zone. That game really easily could have been 28-0 at halftime. But at the bottom line, it's what they did. They didn't. I didn't know this more till after the game because I didn't go dive that deep into the Bears. But Bears, I think, are like a top 3 team in the NFL in the red zone defense. And they obviously gave the Lions some trouble in the red zone. And then it's football. Other teams are going to get hot, and the Lions gave them an opportunity to get hot, get the ball. Some dumb penalties. I think me and you talked about it. I don't think they showed the Stevenson actually that he tripped Jamo out of bounds. They caused Jamo to throw the ball at him, but it's still unacceptable. But listen, it's, I believe, the 3rd or 4th game of the year the Lions have won after losing a turnover battle. And that's what a good football team can do. They could overcome, I think they lost by 3 or 4 turnover battle in Houston. I think we turned the ball over twice in this game. Bears didn't turn the ball over. It's still good. It's a good one in the division.
It was ugly. It was ugly second half. But I've given Caleb. I mean, anybody that watches this knows the amount of shit I gave Caleb Williams because I don't think he's had the best rookie season. But he looked good second half. I have to give him that. 3 touchdowns. I thought for sure we were going to be able to get Caleb to commit a turnover, whether it be on a sack or a pick, and it just didn't happen as much.
They're really close on a couple.
Yeah, no, they were. Yeah, but
Terry
overall, you've got to give Caleb his flowers in that game. He kind of did everything in the second half to help them win. It was just an ugly first half from that Bears offense and really the Bears defense. The only real good thing you could say about the Bears defense that first half was they were getting us to kick field goals instead of score. I think we had one touchdown first half, or was it 2?
We had
I think it was 2, right? It was Laporta.
16. Oh no, it was a bunch of field goals.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So it was 1 Laporta and 3 field goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, like you said, Paul, divisional game. You just got to win those games. You know that they're going to be ugly in the NFC North and the NFC North. The Bears are obviously coming out to play, and but good for the Lions. They broke that streak. It's been since 2016. That was the last time we saw the Lions win a game on Thanksgiving. So to see them win that was nice.
How many teams do you think in the league could do with the Lions that don't, with what they have going on defense? 10 defensive ends are in IR.
Yeah.
10. They have, I believe, I saw this, 23 defensive players on IR. That's pretty much the whole roster. Pretty much everyone that you've got taken from the end of camp. I mean, they backups got hurt, but we have multiple defensive tackles that are on the team. All our defensive ends that are on the roster right now, after going into this next week against the Packers, we're not on this team. Linebacker, the only linebacker that's going to be on this roster that was on the roster before the year going into the Packers is Campbell.
Yeah.
Maven's gone. Barnes gone. Anzalone gone. Rodrigo torn ACL. Yeah. In the backfield, you have Vilver, Dorsey. Mosley got hurt in warm-ups. So, I mean, it's a system. And Dan Campbell said it on Friday. He goes, I don't care who's hurt. It's a waste of time talking about it. Right. The next man is up, and he's responsible to the guys next to him. And that's the mentality they've installed in that team. And with that offense, they can keep them in every game. And the defense is still – people are hard on that defense. I actually thought the defense played a really, really nice game, So –
I didn't really have much an issue with the defense. I thought I don't think they looked their best, but they were full of injuries in that game. So My disappointment, to be honest with you, really came from the offense. I thought the offense had multiple opportunities to really put that game away, and I agree with you. That Gibbs fumble, that was a real killer. I think that was late second quarter.
Yeah, it was like
not?
45 seconds left in the second quarter. When
Late
he fumbled,
second quarter, we're like on the 2, 3, 4 yard line. That was a killer because I think that was a true opportunity to put this game away at half, and they had missed it. And I saw you were walking Aria while you had the Lions game on the iPad.
Yeah, I thought that the Lions just beat the shit out of them so badly that they just went home in the third. So, I mean,
yeah,
they're very good. They're very good. I benched Sam Laporta. I'm still happy I did. 3 catches, 6 yards. Impossible to see a 14-point fantasy game out of him with 3 catches with 6 yards, but he did it. The Lions are they're moving in the right direction. I think that even with injuries and losing Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, one player doesn't win or lose you a Super Bowl. You know, it's about coaching, it's about team, and you got to control the clock. So they have the best team at controlling the football. I don't see them ever not being favored for at least the rest of the year. So, you play a divisional game and you beat them up so bad. I see why the Bears came back, but I mean, the Bears showed why they're the Bears. I mean, that last play was one of the stupidest plays you'll ever see. The fact that they wouldn't call them out.
That whole series of events was like, it made no sense to me. I mean, that whole, how you get where they started on the 25, and I know that there was a penalty that brought them back, but like, as a coach, you were down whatever it was, 20 or 17-0 at half, whatever it may have been. You're down bad at half, 17-3, 20-3, whatever. Now you've got this game at 23-20. You're on the 25-yard line. There should have never been a chance for a pass interference or whatever they got called on. I mean, you run the ball, you play for halftime, and you go from there. Or I guess maybe you try for the win. But shame on Eberflus. That's the first time in Chicago Bears history, and this is one of the original NFL teams, the first time in NFL history that the Chicago Bears have ever fired a coach mid-season. Now, I guess to be fair, their owner was their head coach for a while, right? In the 40s and the 50s. I don't know the last time George Halas was the head coach, but the point is it's been a long time since George Halas was on the field, and they have not fired a coach mid-season, so that's pathetic.
The only thing that was worse than the way he let that end of the game play out is that his comments after the game. And I don't know if have you seen what happened in the locker room? Have you read?
I heard
about all that.
Jalen Johnson exploded and
but
cursed
all the
out
players
Eberflus.
exploded. Eberflus had to leave the locker room because players were like wanting to go after him and just like were absolutely going. But it's amazing to see like the way they have figured out how to lose a game in the craziest ways this season. I don't think I've ever seen or witnessed a team lose. I mean, the Hail Mary, the way they played the Hail Mary defensive. Like, you can give them a Hail Mary, but your way to play Edmonds in that Hail Mary just he was a spy. Like on
Do you think Jaden Daniels was going to run 60 yards?
No, exactly. Yeah. And Jaden Daniels, like, you want him to run. I mean, it's awful. So.
On those Hail Marys, what I would do in the future is I wouldn't even have anybody rush the passer.
No, I agree.
Why even
He's
send
gonna throw it anyway?
I liked what the Lions did with the Hail Mary this year. I think it was against Minnesota, and they rushed 4 or 5, and everybody else was a defensive back. I don't know if they had any. I guess the only linebackers they had on the field were rushing the passer.
But what if you rush 0? What if you rush 0? The offense has to block 5. So now you have a 5-man or 6-man advantage.
The issue if you don't run, I guess you run the risk of a hook and ladder, which, okay, fine, may never happen. But you're really running the risk of the quarterback throwing the ball. And God forbid, I mean, my fear anytime I see a Hail Mary, and I guess it's just PTSD, and that was really from rushing the passer, but a penalty. Somehow there's going to be a penalty. And And I guess there could be a penalty rushing the passer, right? That's what happened on that Rodgers play.
I mean,
back in 15.
the Rodgers play was there was already a penalty.
Yes,
Because the first the Hail Mary need to be from 70 yards.
Yeah.
And if to your thing is like Lions probably shouldn't have rushed nobody in that game because you wouldn't have got that face mask, even though it wasn't a face mask.
Right.
Penalty called to give them another chance. But I agree with you. Make them run the ball. Like just drop everyone back. Listen, if you're gonna rush them, your goal is to rush them and make them throw the ball sooner than the guys can get down the field and get settled.
Yeah.
So it's either you got to choose and go with like 5 or 6 guys and get to him quickly and make him uncomfortable, or like you just drop everyone back. 6 is probably too many, but rush 5 guys.
Yeah.
If we could move on to the next, I mean, not much to say here, but Giants at Dallas. From a gambling standpoint, I loved this game. I had Cowboys spread, and I also bet on Drew Lock throwing a pick. So both of those hit. Giants are a fucking unmitigated disaster. I would say, even after watching the Raiders yesterday, I would say the Giants are the worst team in football right now, and I don't think it's close. The Panthers have had their ups and downs, but now they're starting to show that they could play a little bit more competitive. The Jets have not been anywhere near the expectations, but I think the Jets are a better team. I mean, it is hard to find a team that is better, that is worse than the Giants right now. I have not seen a team play this bad in a long time.
They're looking to lose. They want to lose.
I think the front office wants to lose, obviously, right? They want that pick.
Dexter Lawrence wants to lose.
I don't think Dable wants to lose.
Well, I don't think Dable's going to be there, and I think that's where there's issues. Dable, they're dead men walking, Dable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's done with the last 2 coaches.
And I think that's the biggest fucking shame because I think Dable is a really, really good head coach.
Is he?
I think so, man.
Yeah,
I don't think you've given him anything to work with offensively in
but he
in
had
the
to
4
sign
years
off
he's
on
been
a
there.
Daniel Jones contract. I mean, he had to sit there and say, "Hey, I'm okay with this."
It doesn't seem like I don't know who signed off on what because like if you watch the Giants Hard Knocks, it doesn't seem like the whole room was in on letting Saquon walk. It seemed like one guy was in on letting Saquon walk, and that was Joe Shane. So I do wonder, and I'm not saying yes or no thing, but like, did Dable really want Jones after that first year? Maybe he did. But I don't know. Like, who's calling the shots there? People say John Mara. Is it Joe Shane? Is it Dable? I have no idea.
I think that's the problem, that they're all calling it a little bit. But listen, on the other side, Cowboys might play themselves back into this playoff picture. I was looking at the Cowboys schedule and with back-to-back wins here, what are they, 5-6?
They're 5-7.
They're 5-7, and their schedule is not tough. They have one game they play the Bengals next week on Monday Night Football, so that's it. But after that, they got the Panthers, they got the Buccaneers home, and then they got the Eagles, Commanders. But it's like
if they could win one of those Eagles or Commanders games, I mean, the only thing that I would say to that is ahead of them. Now you've got Minnesota, Green Bay, Washington. So I feel like Minnesota and Green Bay are a lock for the playoffs, right? Like, do I think Green Bay is a great team right now? Not really, but they've got 9 wins. They've got to win probably 2 more to lock themselves into, maybe not lock, but to back into the playoffs. The Commanders are the Packers holding the last seed? Packers are the 2 seed. The Commanders.
Yeah, there's already 6 teams locked in to make the playoffs. The only seed up for grabs is the Commanders.
No one's locked in right now.
Well, but he says with 9 wins, you're pretty much a lock.
Okay.
If you can get to 10 with the way that these players, because the thing is, the Commanders are 7-5, but they're not a threat because they're already in. So the teams that are out have 5 losses already. So if you get to 10 wins, you're telling me that the Cardinals are going to win out? I just don't see it happening. Other than that, I mean, the Buccaneers, the Rams, the Niners, they're all 6-loss teams. Cardinals
are playing for the division between Seattle Cardinals, Rams. We'll see what happens with San Fran, but I think they're done. They're all playing for the division. They're all 6-5.
Yeah, and the Packers get to play the Saints and the Bears with 9 wins. They're almost a lock to get to 11
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, that's.
I
where
think you're
I'm
gonna
at,
say
too.
Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay are pretty much gonna lock it up. Just a matter of the pecking order in the
Right.
North.
I mean, the Falcons are no lock here. The Falcons are the 4 seed. They're running the NFC South, but the Buccaneers are like right up their ass. The only thing that kills the Buccaneers is they lost twice to the Falcons head to head. And
Already?
that's going to kill them. That is going to kill them in the in getting into the playoffs because at this point,
But the Falcons have a difficult schedule, from what I recall. I think they play
Falcons play the Chargers today. I think they're going to lose to the
the
Chargers.
Chargers today, then at Minnesota,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then it gets easier. Then they play Vegas, Giants, Washington, Carolina. But I think Washington's going to fall apart. I don't believe in Washington anymore. They should have lost that Bears game.
Yeah, I agree.
If they lost the Bears game, they're 6-6. And Daniels has not played well since he came back from the injury.
Mhm. They've got the Titans today. That should be a win. Although the Titans looked pretty good last week, but I don't see it going anywhere. And then they've got a late bye. They've got a Week 14 bye, and then it's Saints, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. I could see them going if they win today, and then they win, one more game. That's probably going to be enough, right? Because, like we said, between Seattle and Arizona, one of those teams is going to take the division, and I think the other team is going to be out. I don't see the NFC West producing a wild card team. And then you've got the Buccaneers there at 5-6. I don't know.
Buccaneers play the Panthers today. Atlanta plays the Chargers. So I know they'll still lose on tiebreaker, but they could have the same record after today. Even though the Panthers are playing better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've got Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. Yeah, I mean, the Bucs have the Panthers twice down here, down the stretch. That's going to be a very interesting end to the season, which is exactly what the NFL wants, right? Because the last thing that they want is week 16, 17, and 18 to have 2 interesting games. You know what I mean? That's the last thing that
Exactly.
they want.
In week 17, they matched the divisions. They matched all the wrong ones this year. So I was looking at this already. In week 17, week 18. You got Carolina, Atlanta. So, that game's garbage. Carolina won it. Washington, Dallas.
Maybe not. Atlanta may need to win that game to get in.
I understand, but
They
I'm
may
talking
be
about,
tied.
2 teams that are fighting against one another.
Yeah. They're not playing for the division.
Both teams won't be playing for division, won't be playing for wild card. Washington, Dallas, most likely Dallas will be done. KC, Denver, they could be playing where KC maybe for the division or Denver to make the playoffs. Minnesota, Detroit will be a good one. Chicago, Green Bay, Chicago will be out. Houston, Tennessee will be out. Jacksonville, Indy. Jacksonville's.
You're talking about playing for a draft pick.
Yeah. Then you got Chargers, Vegas out. Seattle, Rams could be something. Buffalo, New England will be out. Miami, Jets are out. Giants are out against Eagles. San Fran, Arizona, that could be something. But I think San Fran is going to be closing it down soon. Cincy, Pitt. If Cincinnati gets on a roll here. New Orleans, Tampa.
I feel and we've been saying that with Cincinnati all season. If they could just win this game,
Yeah.
And I feel like we're 1 or 2 more Bengals loss. Because what are the Bengals at? The Bengals are 4-7.
4-7.
They're
They're one loss away from being done.
Yeah,
they got to go on a roll right now. They got to win 5 in a row.
What, are they at the same record as the Jets right now? Are the Jets 4-7? The Jets are 5-. Jets are 3-8. Yeah, it's we've just been saying this every week with Cincinnati. I think we just want it to happen. We want to see the Bengals be interesting. I just don't think it's going to happen. They're going to have a lot of soul searching to do in the offseason.
But they just listen. They're 5 plays away from being probably a 9-2 team going into this week.
You know what though? But that is the margin.
I know that. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
You know
but
what I mean?
they've lost in the last second of a couple plays of the games that were just
you talk about our Lions. We're 11-1, right? And the Lions have earned every bit of that 11-1. But 5 or 6 plays go differently in some of the ends of these games. Jake Bates doesn't make those field goals in Minnesota and Houston. All of those things, right? If those things don't go right, we're maybe staring down the barrel of 7 wins right now, 9 wins instead of the 11. So that's the NFL. That is the margin of error. outside of the Giants, the best team to like some of the most mediocre teams is not a world of a difference. It's not like college football.
No, it's not. It's
You know
not.
what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's
If we don't go 0 for 7 in the red zone, the worst we did since 1951.
against
12-0.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, we only lost by 4.
I know.
Yeah, but no, it's I mean, that's the awesome thing about the NFL. Everyone's the same thing. Everyone's giving Detroit a tough time about the game, and and then you see KC just struggle again to put a team away and should have lost, and once again won in such a bizarre ending to a game in that Kansas City Vegas game. I mean, it's every game is close. It's you can go on every team's Cleveland upsetting Pittsburgh a few weeks back, Baltimore losing to Cleveland like a month ago. There's Houston had a bad loss last week to Tennessee. Rap just reported Rogers like
Ian Rappaport, reporting.
If I need to
Rodgers.
listen, and that's all they're fucking talking about on ESPN here. Like you have so many important football games starting here, and they're talking for 40 minutes on ESPN or NFL Network about where Aaron Rodgers going next year.
Mhm.
Like it's just it's like you were talking about like some good model citizen and just a great guy for the NFL. Like I get it, but like this guy brings no value, as a human, let alone to give him the spotlight of just talking about him. And if he was 31, sure, talk about him. He's 41 years old.
For me, this is an off-season topic.
I
Like,
actually think Aaron Rodgers is one of the best humans on the face of this planet.
I mean, if you go, listen,
Paulie, you're talking to the head of the Aaron Rodgers fan club.
And
in New York.
the number one Aaron Rodgers. I actually support his decision to come to the Jets. I'm so grateful that he did that for the franchise, and I'm just so sorry that we let him down. Because let me tell you something. Nobody comes to the Jets to win. Everybody comes to the Jets for a paycheck and to retire. And he said, I think the Jets have a good defense, and I'm going to come and see if I can win. And the fan base is such a fucking bunch of they're just a bunch of dicks. You haven't had a quarterback. You haven't had a quarterback since Joe Namath, basically. And this guy has had better statistics, and he's going to throw for more yards than anyone outside of Ryan Fitzpatrick over the last 20 years. And he might throw for 25 touchdowns, which the Jets haven't seen also since Ryan Fitzpatrick. Outside of that, haven't seen since Chad Pennington. And you want to run him out of town because the defense can't tackle? I don't like that. I think that, there should be a lot more appreciation for what he's done, and there should be a shame on Woody Johnson, and really because he needed to fire Joe Douglas last year. He needed to fire the head coach last year. When the Lions go in to any game, you could almost guarantee that they're going to outcoach the opposite sideline, and the Jets get outcoached every single week. And you want to blame Aaron Rodgers for bringing his OC in? You can't, because the OC before that sucked, and the OC before that sucked, and the OC before that sucked, and the head coach before him sucked, and the head coach after him sucked, and the GMs are always bad. McCagnon, Tannenbaum, Izzik, and Joe Douglas is no better. And you're telling me with the Lions, you want to bite off kneecaps, you're going to make fun of that. You're going to make fun of that, and then they go and they fucking bite off kneecaps. The Jets, they set the bar. They didn't want to make the playoffs. They set the bar at, well, we would just like to play meaningful games in December. Well, guess what? It's December 1st. Aaron Rodgers came here. He wanted to win meaningful games in December. He wanted to win playoff games. He said Super Bowl. But the GM set the bar so low that they can't even play a meaningful game on December 1st. You're out of it before Halloween with Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to blame Aaron Rodgers when the defense can't tackle, when the defense can't stop the run. And everybody knows, and Lions fans know, obviously, that when you run the football, you win. And the Jets can't run the football, and they can't stop the run. But it's Aaron Rodgers' fault. You know what? And that's why we deserve to talk about it.
It's a collective effort.
When you talk about the great teams, you talk about the Lions, but why do you talk about the Jets? Because the thing is, you figured it out. You know what the Lions are now, and it's awesome to watch. But with the Jets, you got to talk about it because it's like, what the fuck? We got to figure this out. Now it's like, well, let's all get together and figure out why the Jets suck. We have to talk about him because it doesn't make sense. How could you be bad for 14 years in a league that gives you the number 1 pick when you're the worst team and the number 33 pick and the number 65 pick? It's not just that number 1 pick. They're getting the top pick in every round. They're getting all this cap space. They're getting, draft picks for, trading away players that they need to get rid of so that they can rebuild. The NFL is begging. Not only that, when you come in 4th in your division, you get to play a 4th place schedule. You get to play the easiest teams in the league. They're begging the Jets to be good. Why are they bad? It's something that we talk about out of the nature of humans trying to figure shit out. That's an anomaly.
I don't think it's solely an Aaron Rodgers issue. There's the issue with the Jets is so much more than just Aaron Rodgers. But I think the criticism is that when Rodgers comes in, he takes over. I mean, as I've said before, was Robert Saleh a great head coach? Absolutely not. He was not. The guy made a lot of mistakes, and really in the end, he did lose the locker room. But you also neutered him by bringing in Aaron Rodgers and letting Aaron Rodgers just decide who the next offensive coordinator is.
Robert Saleh made the mistake, and I don't think a lot of people are going to agree on me this, but you want to have control of the locker room. You can't be shown on national TV kissing someone's ass. And that Hard Knocks, it showed the first 2 episodes, the whole team. I mean, there was an episode where Robert Saleh ran over to one of the coaches and goes, "Did you see that throw? Oh my God, oh my God." No player should see your coach running all in Gaga land over a player like that. A pat on the back, nice throw, let's move on to the next thing. So Aaron Rodgers just his head got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it should have gotten bigger and bigger because he knew he's bossing that locker room.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's making decisions, and I agree with him. We probably think he has more power than he really, really does. But they invested in him. They invested in players they want. It was all about him. If the locker room is not running right, only one person is leaving. Then it was the head coach. It was Robert Saleh. I don't think at that point before the Bills game, Robert Saleh should have been let go. At the end of the day, if you beat the Bills that day, you were in first place. So I don't know if it was the right move to be made at that point. But, I mean, yeah, the Jets need to, and I guess it's what every NFL team is trying to do now. They need to bring in someone that's not a douchebag, that understands Jets culture and going back in the day and what they want the Jets culture to be like. And I don't know, what are the Jets people like? I really don't know New York. Are they hardworking, blue collar?
There's a lot of talk of bringing
Aaron
Rex
Glenn?
Ryan. No,
Right. I've heard the Rex Ryan thing.
Back.
But I don't know if it should be as a coach. Maybe as some
seems like that's the deal, and he's openly said he wants the job back.
So I said this the whole time. Everyone thinks the whole Lions thing started with
Campbell.
With Campbell, right? Our president, what's his name? The gray hair guy.
Ron Wood.
Ron Wood. The president, who doesn't know football. He ran the trust for the Ford family. He was their trust guy. They got hired. He probably should have never got that job. Well, when they fired Matt Patricia on Thanksgiving week and Black Friday 4 years ago, it was shortly after that. I think I told you, because they had Chris Spielman on a show, on a podcast, and they asked Chris, "How did you end up coming back to work for the Lions?" And he said they called him and asked him, "Would you be interested in being the general manager of the Detroit Lions?" And he said, and he just broadcasted, he said, he's like, "I'm not qualified." But the Lions were ready to hire him. And it probably been another bad move. Yeah. Right? It sounds like a right move. He said, "I'm not qualified. But what I can tell you, I know what a GM and a coach look like." You know? And then he said, "Well, Sheila would still like to talk to you, blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Sure." The next week he said he was down in Cincinnati to do a game. She called him. She still tried to convince him to call it. And he told her, "There's a guy in New Orleans. When I went and watched all the guys," he said, "when I go to training camps to do every training camp for Fox," he goes, "I went down there and I asked the players, I take with the head coach a couple of big names, who do the players look for leadership on this team?" And all the guys said Dan Campbell, the tight ends coach. That's who they look for. And he told the Lions that there's a guy down in New Orleans right there. And he said there's a guy in LA with talent. And that's how it happened. So I think the Jets need to do a lot of teams need to do the same thing, because as much as like all these people now are saying like Dan Campbell's a player, a former player in Detroit. Dude, he was on an 0-16 fucking team in Detroit. We weren't winning in Detroit. So like everyone's like, go bring the ex player in. Like, I don't know if that's gonna work. Like, you need to know someone that knows what football people look like and stop hiring these agencies to like do your like telling you who the next Bob Quinn or Matt Patricia is. Like, you need a football guy who knows football, who can evaluate football and tell you who that guy is.
The Jets just brought in the 33rd team. I don't know if you've heard about them. They're
a disaster.
I saw something about it. Yeah. That whole agency. That shit doesn't work. They're
a bunch of fucking idiots. I'm sorry. The 33rd team. Before the Jets. I block a lot of people on Twitter. Before the Jets, mostly really reporters.
And
Bills
Facino,
fans. I blocked the 33rd.
Let's do like another 2 minutes on this, then we got to get it to the rest of the
33rd team's Mike Tannenbaum, Adam Gase, Belichick's involved. Guys that don't even fucking like the Jets or fucked the Jets over by performance or by just being who they are. The 33rd team is moronic. I don't know what the Jets are going to do.
Is that who the Lions hired for Bob Quinn? I think maybe.
I don't know. The 33rd team wasn't around then.
Okay.
I know the Lions went to the NFL to have them come in and help, but that was before Bob Quinn. That might have been like the Matt Millen era. I think.
I'm going to say something, and the last thing about this, like all these people want to go get Ben Johnson from Detroit. Now, I bet you Ben Johnson won't make a good head coach.
I would. That's what I've been saying too. I agree with that.
You need guys who walk the sideline, understand time, understand coaching, don't yell at people, understand it can control a locker room, and coach their coaches.
Typically, the best head coaches are either former special teams coaches or assistant head coaches that coach the tight ends or the linebackers or something. It's usually not the next hot.
Well, what about the fact that you need like Ben Johnson would be horrible for the Jets outside of calling plays, but I think when you don't have the best offensive line, it's not as easy to call plays, and now you might get overwhelmed. But the Jets, John Dorsey doesn't get along with people. You know what? I think he's the best person for the job. Brian Flores doesn't get along with people.
The problem,
but you know what? Those guys would tell Woody Johnson. Those guys, if they could gel, those guys tell Woody Johnson, go fuck yourself, and I'm going to go bring in some real players, and they're going to tell Sauce Gardner, fuck you. You're going to have to practice tackling. They're going to tell, Breece Hall, shut the fuck up. DJ Reed, stop tweeting after losses.
John Dorsey,
they're going to tell these people these things.
He's currently on the Lions staff. He's in their front office. He's like, does something with scouting.
He's an assistant like GM to someone with get player development.
The issue
but he's smart.
John Dorsey is really smart.
Very
smart. The only issue with John Dorsey is the guy kind of, and I love the balls of going all in. His methods, like John Dorsey is tremendous in the draft. Like if you look at all of his drafts in Kansas City, and I don't know where he
Cleveland
was,
too,
and Cleveland.
He was in Green Bay for a little bit.
The guy knocks it out of the park in the draft. His issue is kind of going all in on some of these trades that have sunk him. I mean, but like outside, like the Odell Beckham trade is like a real black eye on his career. I think he traded Zeitler and a first-round pick to the Giants for OBJ.
Hey, it's fine. Yeah, nobody's going to be perfect.
No one's
He drafted Hendon Hooker, and I think that if he became the GM of the Jets, they would go trade for Hendon Hooker, who wouldn't have to be developed by the Jets because the Jets can't develop QBs. He could start for the Jets, and if he shits the bed, you got a quarterback for 2 years. You could move on from, and he costs you $3 million.
And if Ben Johnson, if he went and got someone like him, and if Ben Johnson decided to stay with the Lions and take a head coaching job, well, I mean, if he did, if Ben Johnson stayed, because there's a lot of people believing that Ben Johnson might stay now. There's more and more reports coming out this weekend. But they could go get the England, the tight ends, passing coordinator from the Lions, who are people the Redskins wanted this year as their OC. But yeah, listen, I agree with you. On the Jets, but they'll hopefully get it right. They're my second team. I've taken the Jets on as my second team. I just hate Aaron Rodgers.
They're my second team too, but I'm a season ticket holder, so I've wasted enough money on this team to really be upset about it. It's just really upsetting.
Rest of the slate, not a lot of. Actually, I shouldn't even say not a lot of great games. There's some good games in each window.
There's some good games. There's some big games.
The first game I'm looking at here, the Ravens. I believe that's what 425. The game I'm looking at that really intrigues me now that the Lions aren't on, I'm probably going to have that on TV One. I'm very interested in Chargers Falcons, right? Because Chargers put up a decent fight For like what was it? For the first half, they ended up getting blown out against Baltimore. Right? That's when I stopped.
It was just a
watching.
couple late plays. It was a close game. They scored. I think Baltimore scored like a late touchdown
What was the
or two.
final score of that game?
I think it was like
I think it was
33-17 or
30-23. So
something. Yeah,
yeah,
30-20.
it wasn't
Yeah.
a bad game.
So I think the Chargers may have scored a late touchdown, but it was a good game up until like mid-third, and there's a couple mistakes made.
This is a game I'm going to be watching. I don't think the Falcons are very good. They've had some weird ups and downs. They're playing in Atlanta, which has not been a major home field advantage for them this year. The Chargers are coming in. Actually, Atlanta's a home dog, but it's pretty much a pick 'em. It's a +1 spread here. I like the Chargers. I like the Chargers a lot in this game. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of points scored, although maybe they're in the dome, so possibly. But I'm going to I would take the Chargers here. I actually am going to take the Chargers. I think I'm going to take them at an alternate spread today.
So you don't like them that much.
No. I think I'm going to.
But you're going to up the
buy
line.
him.
Get more.
Yeah. I think I'll take him
All
at instead of the -1. I think I might take him at -2.5, -3.
I mean, Atlanta's on a skid. They're due to win. Chargers still traveling. It's a long travel. They've had two really emotional big games. Eagles. No, the Eagles. They didn't play Eagles. Who did the Chargers play before? They had a big win the week before Baltimore. Who was it?
Bengals.
Yeah.
Bengals. Yeah. They had a big win there where they got up to lead. Bengals are come back. Listen, I hope the Chargers win.
And you got nothing on this? You don't like this game?
You're either going to get, 500 yards out of Cousins, or you're going to get,
Two fumbles and an interception
Yeah.
for 110 yards.
You
back.
never know. I would say
Although
that
it's 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins.
1 p.m. Kirk Cousins, you're also going up against probably the most well-coached defense right now. They're really, really efficient, the Chargers, on defense. And they've just played a bunch of great teams. I think that the Chargers will win. I think they'll win by probably 2 touchdowns. The only issue with the Chargers is when J.K. Dobbins got hurt, their offense sputtered a little bit. So maybe they can get something out of Kamani Vidal in the running game, because Gus Edwards is like a one-trick pony, and he's not the Derrick Henry type of one-trick pony where he's going to still run for 150 yards on you. I think that they have a little bit less flexibility when he's in as opposed to J.K. Dobbins. So I think that if there's a game for the Falcons defense to get right, it actually could be this game where the Chargers are still trying to figure out where they're going to go from here for the next few weeks. But it is a very important game for both teams. I think who's home again? The
Falcons.
Falcons are home. Yes, the Falcons are home.
But I feel like the Chargers,
the Chargers should win.
The Chargers, even in their days in San Diego, like it really doesn't matter if the Chargers are home and away. They're going to give you the same effort.
Yeah.
Especially now playing in LA, like it's the same deal with the Rams. They don't have a home field advantage, right? So like they're pretty much every game is a road game for them in a way. The only difference is 8 or 9 of those games they're sleeping in their own bed.
Yeah.
But like you're not coming out to a crowd that's like, like amped up for you, especially
Really,
the Chargers.
isn't it a shame? And I know Jacksonville's not going to do it. They just got their stadium deal, but I think St. Louis needs a team, and I think the NFL should force
Chargers to go there.
They should force the Chargers to go there.
The Chargers, I don't think will, playing in SoFi.
They just built that unbelievable new practice facility. I mean,
is it shared that practice facility or no?
No, the Rams have screwed their team over. Like they promised to build like that facility. They're still using that facility that was just
that sucks.
I do think that eventually the Chargers will move closer to San Diego, but I think it might be 10 years. I don't think 2 teams in LA are going to stay. I think eventually the Rams, but I think the Chargers in 10 or at least I think they'll eventually build their own stadium, and that means they move.
Salt Lake would
50
be
more.
a perfect place to put a football team. The only issue is you can't sell beer on Sundays there, and that's been like a major deciding factor. I mean, I know they just took on a hockey team, but I think I don't know why they ever. I guess they moved from I know moving from San Diego to LA like bumped up the net worth of the team just by them playing in LA, but that's a shame because San Diego should have a football team.
Well, the NFL may veto this, but the weirdest news from last year that nobody talks about is that the Chiefs are like having some issues with getting a new stadium, and that the owners from Dallas around San Antonio, and they may move.
The issue that was the same thing.
The issue is that they're amazing.
The Raiders were supposed to move to San Antonio, and Jerry Jones put a kibosh to that. He doesn't want more than 2 teams in the state of Texas.
Well,
Jerry
the backup
Jones.
plan could be St. Louis. That's I don't know. I doubt it.
Jerry Jones has a couple years left to live, man.
I don't know, bro. These fucking old guys, they just never die. These fucking old guys, yeah, they're sucking the blood of young kids or something. Another game I'm looking at here in the 1 o'clock window, Cardinals Vikings. This is going to be a really important game for both teams, right? So if you're the Vikings, you're looking up at the Lions. Lions are 11-1. You're 9-2.
Yep.
You know, if you're the Vikings, you got to kind of win out here and hope that the Lions trip up. And that Week 18 game decides whether you're essentially the 1 or 2 seed, or you're in the wild card and you're on the road the rest of the way. And if you're the Cardinals, this is really important, right? Because they lose to Seattle last week, divisional game, and now they went from leading their division, the number 3 seed in the playoffs, to now on the outside looking in at 6-5, looking up at the Commanders here. So if you're the Cardinals. You could say this about everybody at this point, right? We're in December. You got to win out. But both of these teams, these games are really important for them. The only consolation prize here for the Vikings is that, like, you could lose this game and you're going to be in the playoffs, right? If you're the Vikings, you win 1, maybe 2 more games, you're in the playoffs. And I do think the Vikings are 100% a threat in the NFC. So, you know, there's a lot to think about there. But I do think that this game is much bigger for the Cardinals. You know, the Cardinals losing last week to the Seahawks killed them. And, you know, in a matter of today, if the Jets could somehow, and they won't, pull off the upset, even though they're favored by 1.5 to beat the Seahawks, and the Cardinals win, that gets flipped right back to the Cardinals in the 3 seed here. 3 or 4, depending on what happens with the Falcons.
Isn't that amazing? 3 and 4 seed are going to have 8 wins, 9 wins.
I don't think so. I think the Cardinals could, if the Cardinals win today, they're going to get themselves up to 10, 11 wins.
I will say this. The Niners, you know, as bad as they've been, they have an opportunity. I do hope they lose. I hope the Niners miss the playoffs. I would love to see Shanahan shake things up and decide that he doesn't want to be, that he wants to leave the Niners.
I don't think Shanahan's leaving the Niners.
When you see a team continue to go to the playoffs year after year, you just want them to lose.
I don't know how much truth there is, but I was listening to a national show driving back from Detroit, like on satellite, and there's a big talk out there. There's actually a decent amount of people in San Fran that are like saying that if they miss the playoffs, they should just might be having a different voice in the locker room. And the people on the radio thought it's crazy, but there's word coming out of San Francisco that they might shake it up. You know,
and it would be Shanahan's decision, and it would be a trade.
Yeah.
Which is,
I
look,
think it'd be like a mutual, hey, you're going to leave, you're going to go. The Jets want you, you know.
that would honestly be incredible.
As much as you think that
comes calling, Jacksonville comes.
I think that Shanahan, if he did leave the Niners, would absolutely wind up going to the Jets, because the Jets would offer the 1st round pick. They'd offer the 5th overall pick, and he would go there. And I think Shanahan, I
think he's too smart. He wouldn't allow them to take that pick.
What, though? I'll be honest with you. If I'm a Jets fan and giving up the 5th overall pick means I get Shanahan, I'll fucking take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what's the current Jets regime going to do with that 5th overall pick? Like,
if Kyle Shanahan wants to go run it back with Aaron Rodgers, and he's like, listen, me and Aaron are cool, we're going to go with him, then give it up. If they need to go get a quarterback, I don't know if I give it up.
But honestly, if you're the Jets here, like, you've won too many games.
Well, what's Kyle Shanahan's contract? Is it up? Is that what they're talking about? Let's see. Kyle Shanahan's
contract. I have
contract.
no idea about.
I mean, he might not even. His contract might be expiring soon.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the Jets, let's say they do keep that 5th pick and they somehow get, Kyle Shanahan, like, you're not picking high enough that you're gonna get a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward. And I'm not saying that like those are the only 2, but that's kind of the 2 notable guys we're looking at.
He signed through 2025, so he has 1 more year after this year.
Yeah, 1 more year, yeah. So it probably wouldn't even be a 1st round pick. If it's a mutual mutual interest, it'd probably be like a 4th round pick or something like that. Or maybe a 3rd.
But yeah.
But like once again, if they really want him to, if they really want to let him, they could just cut him.
what I think is going to happen with San Fran, I don't think San Fran's winning today. They got a foot of snow in Buffalo. It's bad weather there. It's a perfect Buffalo game. I think they're going to lose this game. Their schedule is brutal. I was looking at it earlier. The rest of the way, I think
San
they're
Fran has been an awful team on the road.
they're going to
That,
lose
like,
another. Dude, you
goes
see how many
back, like,
players?
2-3
You see how many
years
players
now.
they don't have playing this week? Like their whole defense is.
Yeah, a lot of people are out, but it is a running game. Like
Yeah.
if you were gonna say you got to, I don't think it's gonna actually snow. I think it
No, it's
already
supposed to be
snowed.
cleared up. Yeah.
So, but
yeah.
I do think that if you said I got to run the ball versus the Niners, I would probably take the Niners because McCaffrey and that running scheme.
But Josh Allen running the ball, dropping
I'd
back,
still
spreading
take
guys out.
Buffalo.
I think
Still take
Buffalo.
Buffalo 10 times out of 10.
Josh Allen's
Listen.
he's also ready for that 3-pick game. He hasn't had that 3-pick game yet,
Yeah,
so
man, all
maybe it'll
year.
be this week.
Yeah.
Probably this
I
week.
mean, listen, they could get back in it because of division,
Hopefully
but they're 2 losses away. If they lose this week, 1 loss away from being like Christian McCaffrey. Go get that surgery that sidelines you 3-4 months. Let's just get it started so you're ready for training camp. Nick Bosa, get your stuff. Put what's his name, and just either get it back. They'll get back on. The season's done. They'll start IRing guys.
And,
We need a
hopefully
bad
I'll-
game from Josh Allen.
talking about Josh Allen, obviously he's I don't think he's going to win the MVP award, but
He
he's
shouldn't
He
win
might.
the MVP
He
award.
should.
He might.
Who are you going to give
He
it to right
shouldn't
now?
win.
Over him?
Lamar Jackson's the best player in the league, and it's not close.
Yes, but if Lamar Jackson ends up with 6-7 losses,
They're not gonna give it, yeah.
Then
and
you
this
would
is-
have to give it. Then you would have to give it to Josh Allen.
Yeah,
But he
so
doesn't
there-
deserve it.
I
No.
don't know because there's I hate to sound like fucking
You're
Tony
right.
Romo.
I know you're gonna say you're right.
And like I laughed at my brother for this, right? My brother's an Eagles fan, Paulie. I told you this. Like I laughed when he told me Saquon Barkley, but like it's kind of hard to argue against Saquon right now. Saquon is the entire Eagles offense
I
right
don't
now.
think he's going to keep doing what he's done for the rest of this year. I think for one, Eagles, if they're winning, he's
gonna
like
wanna
on
start to
pace
slow
for
him
like
down.
350 carries or something
Yeah.
crazy like that. His legs are going to break down. Like
He's still young enough. He's like 26.
with
I
a
don't
torn
know.
ACL. I mean, and he also has how many carries did he have at Penn State? Like.
I don't know.
You
That I don't
you
remember.
want to protect them here eventually. Listen, if they didn't give it to Christian McCaffrey last year, like when are you going to give it to someone that's not a quarterback? But if there's a year to argue it, this could be the year.
This is the year to argue.
But
it.
I don't think Josh. I don't think. Listen, I want to see what Barkley does today. Baltimore's a good run defense. He's going against Baltimore on the road. If he tears them up for another 150 yards, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, then he's right there. He's right there right now. I just believe the NFL is as shitty is. They're going to look which team is 15-1 or 15-2. If their quarterback is halfway decent, let's give them the MVP to a quarterback.
So then this is you saying you think Jared Goff is still very much in that race. You think if the Lions win, if they lose 1 game, 2 games this year, you think
And
he's-
Jared Goff, I mean, he's like 3rd or 4th in odds right now, so he's in the talk. Not that I'm saying he's the 3rd or 4th best player in the NFL, but if Jared Goff goes and beats Green Bay this week on Thursday Night Football, and let's just say he throws 2 touchdowns, right? No interception. And then if Jared Goff has a showdown with the Bills next week, and they move that game to Monday Night Football, and he goes and beats Josh Allen in Detroit and say he throws 2 or 3 touchdowns, then 100% he's going to be in the talk for MVP. He might deserve it.
Now, the Ravens are 8-4, and if they beat the Eagles today, 9-4, and Lamar has
Yeah.
a good game.
Yeah.
Lamar is the MVP. He's got. I mean, he's leading the league in passing yards. He's leading the league in touchdowns, and he's leading the league in interceptions.
Yeah.
He's got 118 quarterback rating, and he's got 600 yards on the ground with a few touchdowns.
and
It's what he does is
Yeah.
almost it's so crazy because he's so infinitely better than the next guy, but because he can't win in the playoffs, people think he's not,
if
Listen,
you're
he'll
looking
break
at
that. He'll break that streak. They had just a bad game against Kansas City last year in the AFC Championship game. But listen, if they go 12-5, and he puts up these statistics and he continues doing them, then of course he deserves to. He deserves to win it. Now, if they come to second place and they end up with 6 losses, I don't think he's going to get it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at the remainder of the season, so they've got the Eagles today at 425. Then they have a bye week. Then it's the Giants where he's going to tear them up. Then he's got the
Ravens.
Steelers again, which have been
in Baltimore.
Steelers
though.
have been a bugaboo.
Saturday night game.
Then yes, that's a Saturday night game, December 21st. And then the Texans where he's probably going to tear them up. And then he's got the Browns. And the Browns have been another team that have given him headaches.
Yeah.
So
He can win the MVP if he dominates the Steelers. That's the MVP ceiling
Yes.
game because
Yeah.
they would win the division. It's in prime time.
no, they
Everybody
would
gets-
not win the division right there. Absolutely not. If the
Well, it
Steelers,
depends what happens.
Look at the Steelers' schedule. They're fucking getting. There's no
Well,
way.
the Steelers had one of the easiest schedules in the NFL to start the first 9
Yeah.
games. All their divisional games are at the back end, and on top of the back end, they had Eagles and like another tough team. The
so
schedule's
do we
brutal.
think the Steelers lose to the Bengals today?
They got the
1
Bengals
o'clock.
twice because I think
I
they
got
lose to the
Bengals money
Bengals.
line. I got money.
Bengals,
You got Bengals
are-
money
they're
line.
desperate.
Yeah.
They're desperate. They lose this game. The Bengals are packing it up.
Listen, I got a
Really?
couple more minutes because if I don't take Zoe for a latte here soon with her caffeine, she's
We're
doing
coming up on 12. We're at 12:05.
She's
So
doing
wrap it
she put up her Christmas tree. We drove in from Detroit today. Let's talk about Michigan football for 1 second.
Oh,
Bad.
oh,
You love to see
Dude,
it. I can't wait for this playoff. They made
I
it
was
so
driving through Ohio. And
no,
we
I think
stopped
they're
at a
going to miss the
rest there.
playoff, right? They got too
Michigan?
many losses. Yeah.
Oh no, they're for sure they're missing it. It's just to see Day sit on the side. You know why Day deserves to get fired?
Well-
Not really because you lost a mission, because you sat like a bitch watching your players fight and didn't do nothing about it. And then your remark at the press conference was him and Everbooz had the worst remarks, and I just love that they're done by Michigan and also by the Lions. You said at the press conference, "It's our field. We're going to protect it. We're not going to let someone plant a flag on our field." Dude, you had 60 minutes to protect your field to make sure that problem doesn't happen. But I hope he stays because he sucks, and it's good for it's good for Michigan.
I think if he has a decent run, and I think it depends on what he does. Oh, my aunt and my uncle just walked in. It depends on what he does with.
I don't think it. The most important game, they had people, I was listening to Ohio Talk, the most important game is Michigan. It's almost as big as winning a national title.
No, absolutely.
And he demanded at $20 million in NIL money to go beat Michigan. And listen, if they win a national title, maybe. But if they win a national title, sure, they'll give him another chance. But he's not winning a national title.
No, he's not. But the only thing I will say is I do think it depends on what they do in the playoff because it seems
He's
like
1-4. He's 1-4 against Michigan. He's not surviving.
I get it. But I think if they make it to
You know
like
who wants that job? You know why someone didn't take a head coaching job and they don't go interview? There's one guy who wants that job bad, and he's the perfect guy for that job. He's an ex-Ohio State player. He was a hell of a coach in the NFL for Tennessee. Vrabel wants that job. Vrabel's coached in Ohio State under Urban Meyer. He went on and then took the Tennessee job. He's in Cleveland right now. He wants that job.
Do you think You think they hire Urban Meyer again or no?
Urban Meyer's pissed. Urban Meyer said he had the best team for him to do this.
Yeah.
Him and Truss are pissed off about it. Yeah.
All right, boys. I just had some family walk into my house, so I think I got to jump off. Pablo, you got to go get that latte before your wife hits you.
Or the game starts.
All right, boys.
All right.
So we will see you all. Paulie, thank you for jumping on today. And let's
Wait,
enjoy
who we
some
got?
football.
Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence today. They're pulling off the upset against Houston. I can see them winning.
I don't
Today.
think Trevor Lawrence-
I hope they lose every game. But
Is
and
Trevor
who
Lawrence
do you
playing
win.
today?
Yeah, and they
He
just
is
actually
playing.
signed their tackle of the future. So they gave him 3 years, $15 million a year. So that's
There's
nice
something
for the
Conte's
draft.
going out today. And the running back market's changing. Connor right now getting $9 million a year. Running backs are starting to get paid.
I'm the biggest running back fan in the world. I hope the
Yeah,
Jets
me
or
too.
Jags. I want Gene to my teams because I want to see him play for my team. I
Yeah.
don't want to see him go to the
Seeing
Cowboys.
the success that running backs getting drafted high and seeing like Barkley get paid and get playing well. I think the next position that's going to start not getting paid as much as the receivers.
Jameer Gibbs was like a top 15 guy on my big board, by the way. I like that pick.
There we go.
Matt
All right,
was
boys.
not happy about that pick, but
I got to jump
Yeah,
off
you
here.
are.
All right.
Thank
Guys,
you all for
I'll tell you
tuning
later.
in, and we'll see you next Sunday.
All right, bye.